turning down the music. That's a little better. Streaming and recording. We're in the pre-roll, the 5-minute pre-roll. We're in the pre-roll. Okay, DLive seems functionating. Facebook. There you go. Facebook seems functionalizing. Let's check YouTube. Let's check YouTube seems good. Seems functionalized. All right. Everybody's functional. Everybody's functional. Tonight, we dine upon the Bible. Every Wednesday since 8 weeks. This is our 9th week. Since the last 9 weeks. 8 weeks plus now. Alright, we got 3 minutes till we really start. A bottle opener here today. Church key. During the pre-roll, let's look up what a church key is. Church key. See? I wasn't making it up. That's the church key. See? So for our Wednesday night Bible study, I brought my own. It's more of a modern one. Got a minute and 40 seconds left. Oh, that's probably going to be taken as a Illuminati confirmed. Sorry, didn't mean to do that to you. Oh, you can't see. Oh, I'm so dumb. I was showing on the internet a church key, but I'm not showing the internet. I'll do that in a second. Got a minute left. I see a few lurkers popping in. Sometimes I'm running late, so this 5-minute pre-roll is very helpful. Tonight, I was watching Sloan TV up until the last minute, because I likes me some Sloan TV. And if Sloan's still going, when we're done here, I'll head right back over there. Watch Sloan live, watch this recorded. I'm just saying. Alright, let's bring down the volume and get ready for our intro. In 5 seconds.
Welcome to the 9dNation. בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Hello. Welcome to the 9dNation. I'm your host, G. Ross. Our Friday shows are co-hosted by Angular. Tonight we're going to be on YouTube, Foxhole, DLive, and Facebook. This is the nation with no denomination. Let me switch to the close-up scene, you know what I'm saying. So earlier when I said I was showing a church key, I wasn't, but now I am. All right, so what is this show all about? It was one thing, then it changed. It is now kind of a Bible reading. This is episode 9. We've been going from Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 1, all the way to chapter 2, verse 20. It took us 8 weeks to do it. And the sort of G. Ross finding, or the G. Ross summary, using our language here, right? Like it's been interactive, it's been on chat, getting a little bit of feedback here and there. So whatever that is, we came to this. This is our story so far. Crunched down real small. Sabbath after Ahia makes all. Plants. Skylights in the water holder. An angel army. Animals ruled and named by humans, tending the Eden by the river where the tree of life is, and it breaks into 4 rivers. Adam, eat any tree fruit, but not of the deadly one of the knowledge of good and evil. And I'll make you a helper, or peer. That's our story so far. All right, let's scooch to I feel like the music is just too loud, so let me turn it down 1. Yeah, I mean, it gets to minus 35 dB and I talk at plus 5. I guess that's about right. Never can tell. All right. We're going to go to Genesis 2:21. Gen 2:21. So the Lord God, remember he just said, I'm going to make you a helper, a peer. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he, Ahia, took one of Adam, his ribs, and closed up the flesh at that place. All right. That's what we have to work with next, to fold that into our taffy that we've been building. Let's go into the Hebrew. If you've been here before, yeah? That's not at all. That makes no sense whatsoever. Genesis 2. What? Yeah, okay. Oh, I see what I did wrong. So I have to go to 21. Hit the Hebrew. There we go. Now, you may know this is the part of the show where I terribly, terribly pronounce the Hebrew terribly. Let's give it a try. Are you ready? No. I said, are you ready? As Triple H would say. Vayapel Ahaya Elohim Tardema al Ha'adam Vayishon Vayikoch Achat Mitz Tzolotov Vayizgor Basar Tachtena. Alright. Having accomplished that, let's zoom in a bit. Dig into these words. Vayapel. Okay. Vayapel comes from nafal, which can mean to fall or to lie, like to. It's got 435 Old Testament uses, and it has like a settle downward or drop down. It can have a left alone or left behind. I would dare say an abandoned feel. Like you could be plopped down onto, left abandoned to, something like that. Vayapel Achaya Elohim, we know that's Lord God. I'm pronouncing YHWH as Achaya. You could say Jehovah, you could say Yahweh, you could say Lord. I've just been really into Achaya, thanks to one of my friends. So, Vayapel Achaya Elohim, so caused him to fall, God did. Tardeima, a deep sleep, caused him a deep sleep. On who? Adam. We'll see that in a second. Tardema. It's only 7 Old Testament uses. It has like a forced trance, like deep, like anesthesia feel to it, like almost like it's a very old word. It's only used in the oldest texts. It's referencing the late night sleep, like that 2 a.m., 3 a.m. stuff. Comes from Radam, which is not too far away from the Adam word, honestly, but so Ahaya caused a deep sleep on Adam. Vayapel Ahaya Elohim Tardema al Ha'adam. Vayishon, or Vayishan. Vayishan. That comes from Yashin, which means to sleep. That's 24 Old Testament usage. It can mean the word chronic, which I don't see how that fits with sleep, but it almost always is used to mean sleep. It can also mean supply, which also is weird. Like a chronic sleep supply. I don't get that, but it can mean stay, rest, or grow old, age in place. So that makes kind of sense. Almost like you just sit there and you do your sleeping thing. Vayikoch. Sorry. I whistled that a little. Vayikoch. Or Vayikach. Sorry. Vayikach. We saw that last week. That's to like yoink. Like to take, to pluck, to kind of joink. Achat, we've seen that before. It means one. In prior weeks, we saw that. Mitztolotov. It is time to read this word. Mitztalatov. Mitztal. Mitzal Otsav. Mitztal Mitzalotav. Mitzalotav. Hard one to say. That comes from the word tselah, which means rib or side. There's 41 Old Testament occurrences. Now, I want to get a little bit avant-garde here for a second. This word is used in the Law and the Prophets 41 times. It is said to mean rib or side. But in every other use besides right here, it means side, like side of a hill, side of a building, side chamber of a set of rooms in a building. And it's always the side, like large, obvious sides of a thing. But here, somehow, we know it means rib. Now, we're going to come up to some words that kind of help that, but I got to stay a little skeptical so far. I'm not an expert. I'm just saying. Vayizgor, that comes from sagar, which is to shut or close. There's 91 Old Testament usage. To close, to hand over, to imprison. It can also mean battle axe, which I guess if a battle axe like chops your arm, it kind of closes the part that it's there on, but then you move that battle axe, your arm's going to ooze out. I don't know. But here they translate it as heal. So what if he removed a very obvious protruding chunk? You can tell I've read some weird stuff in the past. I'm just saying the language here does not convince me for sure that we're not sort of severing off a large chunk. There will be some words pointing in the other direction here in a second. Basar, that's flesh. Basar here. Flesh. Now, this has 270 Old Testament usage, and it basically means like human. It can mean meat. But basically, if you read all the uses, it comes across as like person meat. Flesh is a perfectly great translation. Techtana, we've seen this before. It means under or below. Like, for example, the waters below the firmament. We've seen this 2 times before so far in our studies. So let's put this whole thing together. Let me zoom back out. All right. Plopped a deep stupor onto the man, did Ahiah, who slept. And Ahiah yoinked a 1 chunk piece. Oh, I skipped the word 1. Sorry. I didn't really highlight this. Achat means 1. It really means 1. So he took one of his sides. This kind of does make me think maybe it means rib. Not too sure. Anyway, let's summarize it up. Ahiah plopped a deep stupor onto the man who slept. Ahiah yoinked 1 chunk piece from the dude and sealed under the cut, or sealed up the cut. Is he trying to say it was a clean cut? So let's summarize that again. Ahiah conked out Adam and yoinked a chunk of flesh out clean. So now I'm going to take our story so far and work this in. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes all plants, skylights in the water holder, an angel army, animals ruled and named by humans, tending Eden by the river where the tree of life is, and it breaks into the 4 rivers. Adam, eat any true fruit, but not of the deadly one of the knowledge of good and evil, and I'll make you a helper peer. Zap, you sleep. Yoink, a clean cut of you. Twink, chopped out or off. Let's try again. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, skylights in the water holder, an angel army, animals, ruled and named by humans, tending Eden by the river which becomes 4 near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit with the deadly knowledge of good and evil. I'll make you a helper appear, a deep sleep, and a rib yoink. That's our first verse of the night. I have a lot of verses prepared. We may go a while. I may get tired. We'll see. Let's check the chat, and then we'll go to Genesis 2:22. Chat looks stable. Everyone's like cooking up some dinner, or sleeping, or doing what they should do, which is watch Sloan TV. All right. We've made the rounds. We've checked it all. We're going into the next verse. Here we go. I'm going to do something and change my windows a little here so that I'll almost never not see the chat. Changing my strategy a little. Okay. I do this all with one monitor. I know. Genesis 22. And the Lord God fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man and brought her to the man. Fascinating. Let's go into the Hebrew. I'm going to try to read this. Are you ready? Vayiben achaya Elohim et Hatzalah asher lakach min ha'adam leisha ve'vi'iha el ha'adam. Let's zoom in, shall we? Vayiben comes from bana, that's to build. There are 375 Old Testament usage. Examples of things that it is used to build is a woman here, a city, an altar, a tower, a child. Can also mean rebuild. So remember, man was formed and woman was reconstructed out of man. So it's not a lesser type of building. It's just different. So man was formed and woman was reconstructed out of. Hatzalah. That's that word we saw for rib or side. Vayiben Yahweh Elohim et Hatzalah aser lakach. We've seen that twice before. That's that one. That's the very forcible yoinking. Min ha'adam. We know that's from Adam. Leisha. This is a great word. We're going to hear it a lot coming up. Leisha. It's from Isha, or woman, or wife, or female. There's 781 Old Testament usage. And you could say, looking at it, it's like a woman with womanhood. Like the Uber mom, or the Uber lady, or the station itself of wife mom. It's like the human race needs moms. Like, so. Yes, 123 SKG. There are times when the Hebrew seems to use fewer words than the English translation. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing this. I'm just trying to get to know each word token, how it's used, and kind of build it back together. So this word Leisha, or Isha, has a lot of weight to it. Now we've got Vayivi'iha. This was the same word used when Achaya was parading the animals one at a time up to Adam. Well, I guess it was one at a time. He was bringing them each to him and seeing what he would name them. Which, by the way, that reminded me of Noah. Because, he brought the animals up 2 by 2 and 7 by 7 for the holy ones. Kind of an interesting poetic echo. So now at the end of all this animal parade, he presents, using the same verb, the woman, to El Ha'adam, to man. So let's put this all together. Achaya constructed the human race mom from Adam's side chunk, yoinked out, and said, voila, to Adam. Fair enough. That's just putting the word tokens together with kind of a vibe. Not saying I can translate better than the experts. I mean, we could just read the parallel 20 translations and get a feel. But, we're just using a modern day vernacular to vibe through it. So now our story so far, with that included, would look like this. Sabbath, after Ahia makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by humans who tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil one. Now, sleep. Yoink! Behold, your flesh chunk is now human mom, your wife. Now, a quick note about ribs. I'm going to put this link in the chats. It says here that 1 in 500 people have an extra rib. Interesting. I don't know if Adam had an extra rib, but I used to be convinced that men and women had different numbers of ribs. I'm pretty sure that's not true. But I used to think it was true. And it's pretty persistent. You can go play around on the internet and see that it's still pretty commonly thought by a large chunk of people. Let's move forward to the next verse. Check Facebook chat, see how it's doing. Is chillin', is chillaxin'. All right. Then the man said, at last, this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Let's dig in and see if that's what it says. Let me attempt to read this. All right, here we go. Vayomer ha'adam sot ha'pa'am etzem me'atzameh uvasar mebasare lezot yikare isha ki mayish lukocha zot. So what's noticeable here is for a while the Bible was saying God said, God said, God said, God said. Now Adam's starting to say. Adam's like, instead of Vayomer Elohim or Vayomer Yahweh Elohim or Achaya Elohim, it's Vayomer Ha'adam. So now Adam gets to talk. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Adam gets to do some speaking parts. You pay a little extra if you're in the SAG, right? Screen Actors Guild. Like, speaking part. Nice. Zoth. Or Zot. Zot. So Adam said Zot. That's hereby in it likewise the one other same she, such deed that. It's a big word. 604 Old Testament usage. It's always like a therefore, or a conclusion, that is, or this is, or almost feels like behold, or because of all that, this. So it's like a really good word. So they translated it well. This now. So hapa'am comes from palm, which is a beat, a foot, an anvil. How does that all tie together? I have a theory. It's got 118 Old Testament usage. It's a really weird word. It means replica or repeat. So I started to think with the anvil and the foot. Here, let's look at 6471. I want you to see this. Like, I'm not making this up. These are the uses. 2 times. Stomp, stamp. It almost feels like tank, you know, like you got the thing and then the thing. Pack, you know, form, reform. Kank. Like you get a beat, hoof beats, once you have 2. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. I don't know, I'm making annual, like the sun comes around. Oh, we've seen the sun be low in the sky again. Oh, this is an annual thing, right? So it can kind of mean 1 and 2. It's like you don't have a beat until you've got, right? Already you got a tempo just from me doing that twice. So the wife, the female, is Adam again. Boom, boom. So going back to the text. Zot, therefore, hapa'am. Therefore, a second, you know, like, therefore, and they're saying it means now. This is now. It'll all make sense as we read the rest of this. I just think there's something about that word. Anyway. Etzem. So etzem has 126 Old Testament usage. It means bone or like substance, or can mean self. It can mean like same, like one kind of thing. I'm thinking of like you feel something in your bones, right? That's the deepest part of you. And then after that, the word's used again. Bone of bones. Etzem me'at samai, right? So this is bone from bone, or bone like bone, or bone as bone, or bone of bone. And then uvasar mi besari. So bone of bone, flesh of flesh. Nice little poetry there. Where's that in my notes here? Yeah, bone of bone. So now, uvasar me basari, that's flesh of flesh. We've seen this word a couple times before. It's that human meat or human stuff. And it's wherever the area where the rib was taken from. So, bone of bone, thing taken out of thing taken out of. And, well, it didn't say bone, it said rib. It meant side, so I'm not so sure about that. But, and flesh of flesh. Lezot. Where's lezot? Here. Lezot, we've seen that earlier this verse. He's like, I'm saying that this is, you know, this is that big therefore word. This one, this thing. Do you get the sense that Adam's pretty stoked here? Like, he's like, aha, this is like me. He's very excited. Yikare. This is, you know, he's been naming things, and God's been naming things. So Achaya and Ha'adam have been naming things. It's a very famous, like, I dubbed thee Sir Giraffe. I dubbed thee Sir, God would name the night and the day. So he's going to pick the word. It's Isha. We saw this a minute ago. It's a momentous big word. Isha. Ki, we've seen this 1,000 times already. It means because. It's kind of a thing. Maish, from the man. So think Ish, Isha. So you got man, woman. Ish, Isha. So he's like, because Maish, and then Lukocha. That's that yoinking word. Ploink. And then Zot. This one. So here's my summary. See what you think. Let's zoom out. Adam was stoked. Another me. From and just like me. I will name of me. Because is from me. Now let's put it all together. And that wasn't transliterated. I put the bone and bone and flesh of flesh all as one, kind of. Our story so far, if you include that. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by humans who tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. Now while you sleep, yoink, behold, your mini-me. Wow. I'll call her mini-me. She's from and of and like me. Let me shorten it. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by humans who tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. Ahiah yoinked a lady out of Adam, and he was stoked. Let us proceed to verse 24. Verse 24. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Let me try to read this. Alakin Yaasov ish et aviv v'et imo vedavak bayishto vinhayu lavasar aichod. All right, let me inhale. Let me run through the chat windows, see how we're doing everywhere. When I don't check, there will be a Facebook chat. It happens. Or something. Something will happen. All right, we're good to go. Let's zoom in a bit. Alkin is therefore. It's really more like on that. We've seen these words many times already. It's a simple phrase. On that story, this. So it's like a connector. He's like, on account of all that, pronouncement. Ya'atzov comes from Azab, 211 Old Testament usage. It means to leave. It can mean forsake. It can mean to loose, like let loose or abandon. It's a very strong word. Et is kind of a pronoun needed there. Aviv comes from Ab or dad. 220 Old Testament usage. Has a head of a household overtone. You strike out from your domicile and you make your own. Just all the uses of it. It's always like the king of the castle. Vuet means and. And we've got emo. Comes from M, which is mom or mother. 220 Old Testament usage. I found it interesting that Ab and Im are each used 220 times in the Old Testament. There's a slight overtone of the one who has the infant. You know, that's how you kind of know it's mother. Vedavak comes from dabak, which is to cling or cleave or hold close. Why do they call it cleaver a cleaver? It does the opposite. I don't know. It's like a decleaver. Dabak has 54 Old Testament usage, and it can include pursue closely, stay loyal to. Bayishto. That's woman, we know. You know, we know Ishto. But look at this. When you conjugate it this way, Bayishto, to his wife. That's a betrothed woman. Do you see bestow? That word. I think the word bestow is close. Betrothed, clearly. Very similar. Vechayu, we've seen this a million times. It turned out that, or they'll end up as, or it's always meant to be this way. It's got a very casual falling out feel. Like, oh, the dice rolled this way. Now, God designed it, and chapter 1 makes that very clear. But it has this this is the way of it. Like, there could have been other ways. This was the way chosen. Livasar, we've seen that. That's that human meat goop. We've seen this a few times. Echad, that means one. Very clearly used word one. So let's put this all together. Therefore, you leave your parents' house and replicate how they're united. Now you with your new human female. That's what we learn from this. Did it ever strike you that way? You're like, because women are designed by a rib yanked out of the man. Of course, boys grow up and leave their house and go join. Like, oh, of course. Therefore, all kids do this. I don't think it's obvious. I really don't, but it could just be me. But the text says it, so it's got to be true, right? So, let's put it all together. Sabbath, after Ahia makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by humans who tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. Humans will be fruitful by way of joining man-woman in households sequentially from this first pair that was two of a kind since one popped out of the other. So, what are we thinking today? Like, men can have offspring? Well, it happened once. It should not be mocked. God's doing it this way the first time, and then he's having it replicated the other way from then on. Are they trying to do some kind of weird mocking perversion? Anyway, let's make it a little shorter. Sabbath, after Ahia makes plants, and lights in the rain holder, and an angel army, and animals ruled by monogamistic series of human households who tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. Woman was surgically popped out of man, like a C-section almost. Although there was some forming. It wasn't just like the, it does say she was formed. So I kept trying. I tried several times. Let me just read all the tries. Sabbath, after Ahia makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by branching out nuclear human households who will tend Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. And woman was surgically popped out a man. Then I tried again. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by man, woman, and child-based households who will tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. All right. Then I tried again. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by fruitful human households who will tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. And then I tried one more time. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by human families who will tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. So I was thinking about the XY chromosome at this point. Man is XY and woman is XX. So is a woman a portion taken out of man? Like he has XY, but she's just X. I don't know. Does it make sense? I know millions of people have asked this before and debated it back and forth. Thought we should just touch the question. Let's go on to verse 25. And the man and his wife were both naked. I had to say it that way. But they were not ashamed. Fascinating. Vayihu shenehem aramim ha'adam ve'ishto velo yitboshashu. Let's dig into that. Let's see what we learn. Vayihu, we know that. Turns out it was. Shenehim, that's two, like you've seen before. Aromim, that comes from arom, which is naked. It's used 16 times in the Old Testament, and each time, if you read it, it's a simple, unclothed state, a very unambiguous word. Real quick essay here on being unclothed. I have found, and I think you can see, that it can be very culturally driven what is to be over or underclothed. I think if somebody has a feather in their head, you'll want one. If a knee is exposed, you'll want to expose your knee. I've experienced this countless times. They've got Nikes, I need Nikes. They've got Lacoste, I need Lacoste. So this is definitely going to be, as we go through these verses, something about the gender being revealed and being uncomfortable about it once they know that they're naked. But I think there's also like just safety from the environment. And soon we'll see that we want coverings when God's coming to look at us. But let's keep some things in mind. Isaiah was told to preach naked for a while. David embarrassed his wife because he was dancing naked in celebration for refinding the ark. Those are two cases where not wearing clothing seemed okay, right? But then Ham saw Noah naked and got busted and cursed his whole line for it. So, as we go forward, let's just keep our eyes peeled. Ha'adam ve'ishto. So why does it say not ish and ishto? It says ha'adam ve'ishto. So that's Adam and wife, not man and woman. Or it's like man as such and wife, or human and wife. I just thought I'd find it interesting linguistically. Velo means not. We've seen that before. Yitboshasho from Bosch. That's to be ashamed. 113 Old Testament usage. This is an important word, and defining it becomes very circular. It does include anxiety. It can include being dry, confounded, delayed, or disappointed. It's a bad reputation word. It includes humiliation or dishonor. Could be unglorified or unrighteous, perhaps. Embarrassed. But it's just a known word. Oh, that's shame. I don't know if the Hebrew language or just the Hebrew people just automatically knew this word. It didn't need to be defined. It just was built in. Like, just, hey, they were naked, but not ashamed. Let's put it all together. This sentence, they were totally chill about being unclothed. All right, now let's put it all together. Sabbath, after Ahiah makes plants. Lights in the rain holder, an angel army. Animals ruled by unclothed human families who will tend to Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil. Okay, now, remember, every time it stopped and said, he saw that ketob, it was good, right? Everything, was that ketob? I think that's ketob. Let's go. Let me make sure I get you the right word. Let's go to the NAS. Behold, it was very good. Yeah. Veniho tob. Yeah, ketob. Tob is good. So remember, everything's been declared tob. And as we're getting in more detail, everything is still tob. Nothing's happened bad. So we're still in the good stuff, in the good place. Let's go to, where were we? We're about to read 3:1. The calamity is not here yet, but it's starting to approach. You're going to get a sense of this in chapter 3. I'm going to introduce a new character. I don't like going through this part. All right, let's read it. Now the serpent was more cunning than any animal of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God really said you shall not eat from any tree of the garden? All right. All right. All right, let me try to read this. Vehanachash chaya arum mikol hayat hasede ashare asa ahaya Elohim vayomer el hayisha opki amar Elohim lo tochailu mikol et hagan. All right, let's dig in. Who knows what I just said? Did you leave your luggage in the airport and was it upside down? That's probably what it translates to. I probably just butchered it. All right, Vehanakash, that comes from the word nakash, which is a serpent. There's 31 Old Testament usages. So far we've had God, animals, man, wife, now snake called out. In the Torah, it's some kind of legless reptile. It's a snake. Even beyond the Torah. Let's think about snakes for a second. A tornado can come and destroy your family. But a snake almost looks like it almost, but not quite knows what it's doing. So it'll kill your kid painfully, mindlessly, but with some kind of awareness. And you can't tell if they know. And it's your treasure. They kill your treasure, right? I don't want to become just a pure scientist on this, but you can see why snakes are perhaps deeply, archetypally, unconsciously seen as evil. Now, this thing we know is about to lose its legs. So does it have legs now? Is it a Gila monster? Is it like a miniature Godzilla and it talks? Or does it commune telepathically? Is it a draconian or a vril? Anyway, the Herachash, the serpent. Haya turned out to be Arum. That comes from Arum, crafty, shrewd, sensible. There's 11 Old Testament usage. It's usually a good trait. It can include prudent. So people have translated it as crafty or cunning. Doesn't really mean evil. I can't say it does. Now this phrase, we know all these words from prior weeks. Mikol hayat chasede asher asa ahaya Elohim. All the field beasts that Ahaya made. So did he make the snake? Is that how it's worded here? Is the snake a field beast, one of the field beasts? Or is it more cunning than the field beasts? I'm not enough of an expert in Hebrew, but in reading this, I don't think it's clear. It's like a weird intruder. Was it in the first set of animals, or was it another thing made off to the side? Doesn't mean Green Dragon 64. What's up, my man? Yeah, your ears are burning. Yeah, we're doing this section upon the draconians. Hey, be wise as serpents, as innocent as doves, the good book tells us. I mean, he might just be doing his job. Then the next phrase, Vayomer, let's see, starting here. Vayomer el Haisha, Opki Amar Elohim lo tochelu mikol etz hagan. We've seen all of those words in prior weeks, and it comes down to, he asked the woman, Ahia said, don't just eat any garden tree fruit? Kind of a weird wording, but that's what it says. So let's put this verse all together. The serpent asked the woman if Ahia said, don't eat of every garden tree. Now let's put it with our story so far. Sabbath, after Ahia makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by unclothed human families who will tend Eden by the main river near the tree of life. You can eat any fruit but the deadly knowledge of good and evil, which the serpent then questioned the woman about. And we've got from Crisco 13 an opportunity to play the short cookie animation.
Here comes the...
Thank you for that cookie, Crisco 13. All right. So when I was preparing for the show, I took that last paragraph and I shrank it to this. Ahia makes plants, lights in the rain holder, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good evil one, serpent to the woman. For real? Let me try again. Ahia makes plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good/evil one, serpent to the woman. For reals? So I changed lights in the rain holder to snow globe lights. I don't know. Try it for a while. Because in the first couple of weeks, we talked about how the rakia gets banged out like a hammersmith, like a metalsmith. And it holds water above and water below. And that has not changed yet. There's been no flood. There's been no anything. So it's still holding water above. So the system that God made, that Adam names components of, has a first question put into it. It's the first chance for the system, at least in recorded history, to process a truth statement or the antithesis of the truth statement. Is this the first question run through the system? I'm talking about what, we got can. Here comes can animation. I need to make hotkeys for these. Thank you for the can, Sloan TV. So the serpent has inserted the first question into the information processor that is the cosmos plus the people. So he's asking, we've already heard statements, but not in a question. 94 Winchester says, last one from Sloan TV is a rotten egg. But the serpent is questioning this. So he's asking the system to evaluate the thesis and the antithesis. He's saying, are things the way they are? I mean, the Creator said it, so what makes any doubt? Now, did the serpent hear it? We don't know. But he somehow knew to ask that question. Sloan TV says here. So either way, here comes the question, right? So now the answer comes from the unspoiled human female. Vader369 says, good morning. Sloan sent me. Ziana says, dang. Unchained 01 says, beat ya all. Crisco 13 says, I beat you both. So what we're doing here is we're just reading the English first, then the Hebrew, and then we're kind of putting it all together. We're in week 9, so we've gotten so far to the summary of the story, which is Achaya makes plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good/evil one, and the serpent asks the woman, really? So now we're going to read Genesis 3:2. Let's get the NASB just for fun. The woman said to the serpent, from the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat, semicolon. That's a partial answer. We'll stop there and dig through what we've got. Let me attempt to read this. Vatomer hayisha el hanachash miperi etz hagan nochel. Again, for those of you just joining, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing those right. I'm probably doing a very bad job. So we've seen all of these words leading up to this verse, so I won't dig into each one. The woman uttered to the serpent, garden tree fruit, eat. So now I'm going to fold that in to the paragraph we just used as a summary. And then we'll go to the next verse. Achaya makes plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good evil one, serpent to the woman. For real? Woman, we can eat any garden tree fruit, comma. All right, now let me go to the next one. She continues. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, Easy for you to say, 94 Winchester says. God has said, you shall not eat from it or touch it, or you will die. Fascinating. Let's see what we think from the Hebrew. But of the fruit? Okay, here comes another one, Winchester. 94 Winchester. Umeperi ha'etz asher bitoch hagan amar Elohim lo tochelu meminu velo tegeu bopen temutun. So a lot of these words we've seen leading up to this verse. We've read Genesis chapter 1 and 2 and a couple sentences of chapter 3. So we're starting to know some of these words. So since we've already been through all these, I'll just read Umeperi ha'etz asher betoch hagan amar Elohim lo tochelu meminu velo. I'll stop there. That means fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, you shall not eat it and not... Let me pause though. Does middle mean the dead center? The other trees are in the garden in its midst as well. Because this word can mean in the midst of. It doesn't have to mean the dead middle. 10 perfect, Sloan TV says. But there is something about this tree is very... the middle helps you to know where it is. So I'm kind of thinking they mean dead center. Otherwise, batok wouldn't mean a single obvious tree. But it could mean, the one you speak of in this context, right? So it doesn't for sure mean it's like right in the most tempting middle place. But it could mean that. Tegeu. Let's see, where's to go? Right. 94 Winchester says, I don't want to point any fingers, but women sure don't follow rules very well. Thanks, Eve. Fair point. Where's Adam in all this? Is he helping to protect? He was so stoked to meet her a couple sentences ago. Like, whoa, he said, basically. What's he doing now? He's probably fishing. He'll get a little bit of blame here in a minute. It gets passed around. Tegeus from Naga. I don't know how it's from that. Like, that's a weird conjugation, but it is from Naga, which means to touch. It can mean like to reach all the way out and strike. There's 150 Old Testament usages. It can even include punching, but it can also mean like just touching with the fingertips. So now, is Eve embellishing, or are we getting deeper into the story as the author is telling it? Because a minute ago, God just said, don't eat any of these on a boat. I'd be on a fucking boat. Like, yeah, he's on a boat. You know what I would do if I had just been made king of the garden and given a wife? I'd be on a boat. Yes, Crisco 13 points out, no one forced Adam either. Yeah, we're going to get to that here in a second. It's going to be... Well, I don't know. It could take us... I mean, it might be 45 minutes before we get to that. So, how does she know that touching the fruit would kill her? She said, or even touch it. Did Adam, who knew you couldn't eat it, did he go, you know what? I've only known this lady for a couple of days, but I'm just going to say don't even touch it or you'll die. She sent him to rake garbage out. She cobbed some fruit. I don't know that word, cobbed. To cob. Let me look that up. To cob. Cobble? Yeah, maybe she like made some pie out of it. some cobbler. We had some peach cobbler over the 4th by the lake with ice cream a la mode. It's pretty good. Made in a camper. I mean, heated up in a camper. My sister's camper. We went to visit them while they were camped out at the lake. So, is this people growing the list of the forbidden? Like, because they're like, oh, I didn't want to go near. Like, why couldn't they just touch it, look at it, just not eat it? Like, that seemed to be the instructions. They seem to be adding before they break them. They seem to be confused already a little. I'm not saying for sure. I mean, it is smart, but shouldn't you move to the other side of the garden? I think what I'm trying to get at is, let's think about this take or steal to Cobb. Why do I not know that? Let's think about this from, like, we've been Anons for a long time. I don't consider myself that high level of an Anon, but I hang out with Anons. And what is my point? My point is this. Like, when you follow God's rules, you can be standing right next to fire, and you're okay. Calamity can be raining down upon you all around. Death can be this close to your face. Like that fruit, they could stand right next to it and talk about it. Probably even touch it. I'm saying the text seems to indicate that she's confused about that, but maybe not. But you can certainly be right there looking right at it, and it's not going to kill you. So anyway, that was kind of my point. Bow here is just a little grammar word. Pin. There's 133 Old Testament usages, or else, otherwise, alternatively, perhaps, but means pretty much what it says here. Temutun. That means die. We've seen that word before. It means like, die. So we've seen it a couple sentences ago, end of chapter 2, when it was told to them. So let's put it all together here. The tree fruit in the garden's dead center, Ahiah said, don't eat or touch or you'll die. For some that have just come in, I'm saying Ahiah for Yahweh. It could be pronounced however you want. Ahiah makes plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good/evil one, serpent to woman. Really? Woman. Even its touch will kill. All right. Are we ready for verse 4? I am. I say do it. NASB. The serpent said to the woman, you certainly will not die. Interesting. 94 Winchester says, solid point about following God's rules and safe from harm. Thanks, brother. I almost couldn't even get it out of my head. It was barely, I was like, how do I say this? Thanks. Let me attempt to botch what looks like to be the Hebrew. Ki yodea Elohim ki beyom achachem meminu v'nivkeku einachem veyitim kelohim yodei tobvara. Oh, it's not the right sentence. I was consulting my notes. Wait. Nope, sorry. That was the wrong one. Ignore what I just said. Crisco 13 says, besides, 94, can't blame her entirely. She was made from a stolen rib. Fair point. Sorry. Vayomer Hanachash El Hayisha Lomat Temutun. The reason I made that mistake is I have only one monitor. I have to keep switching screens, and I was like, that doesn't sound like where we were. But anyway, so we know all these words already from prior weeks and prior verses. So Basically, the serpent uttered to the woman, "You will not deathly die." I will point that out. When they say die, they mean surely die. Like, see this? Mot temutun. You'll die deadlyly. You'll deathly die. Surely die. You'll double die. You'll die. All right, now let me go to... Oh. Here's another way to say this. Right, Thumper Rose, that's the question, right? What is die in this context? We say they didn't physically die, so what is die? It's totally a good question. We may need 73 years to get through the entire rest of the Bible to answer that, right? They do begin a dying process that maybe it's presumed they wouldn't have undergone because they would have been near the tree of life. We will talk about that, I think, later this chapter or next chapter. So the serpent basically says, So before I go to verse 5, our story so far could be this. Achaya Megs, plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good/evil one. Serpent pursued and argued with the woman about the deadly fruit. Thumper Rose points out, since they did not die, it was a lie. Interesting. Because it says, on that day you will surely die. So now let me go to the next verse. The one that I accidentally read one too early. After they were forced to struggle to live or die. Yeah. For God knows that on the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will become like God, knowing good and evil. Kind of to Thumper Rose's point, we're going to see in this sentence that, man, it's not entirely not true, right? Like, all the serpent's doing is asking questions. And saying stuff that seems to happen. But I'll jump in and say I have a very high view of the Bible and carry around a systematic theology that says Elohim doesn't lie. So we'll see where it takes us. I like the question. Life was given them before by God. Yeah, he breathed it into Adam, and I don't know what he did to Eve. Like, was she alive while he was forming her? Doesn't show when she became alive in the forming process. So Genesis 3:5. I read it earlier on accident. I'll try it again. Ki yodea Elohim ki biyom achachem meminu vinef kechu anachem v'yitim kelohim yodeyi tobvara. I think. So ki, we know, is because. We've seen that a few times. Go ahead and zoom in a bit. Yodeya, this comes from yada, which kind of sounds like the Yiddish word. Like, oh, you know, yada yada. But it does mean to know. There's 942 Old Testament usages. It means knowledge, ability, smarts, realization, or learning. Thumper Rose points out everything they needed to live was given before. Agreed. Well, and I'm not so sure much changed during the calamity. They were kicked out of the garden, but like earlier in chapter 1 and 2, I think it was 2, we saw that the design was for them to bust a hump. Like they were going to work the fields. Like the word used there is the same word for like field labor. So I'm not so sure that much changed besides their approach to life. We'll get to that, but I think you're on to something, Thumper Rose. So, Elohim ki beyon achalchem memenu. Elohim ki beyon achalchem memenu. We know those words from before. God, the day you eat it. So he'll know, or he knows that the day you eat it. Then we get to Benifkehu. That comes from pakach. I don't know how it's conjugated from that, but that's what the concordance says. There's 20 Old Testament usages, and it means open, but it has a very eye context, like keep your eyes peeled. It has alertness, and it can also mean ears being open. So basically, be alert and aware. Anechem, that's from Ayin, somehow. That's 887 Old Testament usages, and it means the eye. And it has a very sparkly, shiny awareness sense to it. And it can mean to appear or be in front of, or be visible right in front of. It can mean to have an opinion about, or to give a crap about, or to stare at. Like, look good, to see, to think, or to watch. So when you see these two words together, Vinivkihu and Naichem, is it like wide-eyed? You'll be like, huh? You'll go, huh? Thumper Rose says, come on, childbirth. LOL, life or death, we were subject to mortality when leaving the garden. / not sure they were in the garden. They were in a state of being, for sure, right? Like, something changed. We're hearing about it, what's going to happen. The serpent is saying, he knows that you will go, what? Like the eyes will open wide. The whole time I'm reading this, I'm thinking like, you know, sometimes you'll see babies like just get that wide-eyed look, or some animals, some mammals will just be like, huh? Seems like that to me. And that's not always a good thing. Like sometimes they're scared or overwhelmed. They're checking to see if something's going to be good or not. And I feel like the serpent is straight up being accurate here. This is what will happen if you eat from that fruit. Veitim. That's we know these words. So we know Veitim Kelohim Yodei Yodei Yitob Vara. We know all those words from earlier. You'll turn out to be like God, knowing good and evil. Now, my notes bust into some deep theology for a second. Let me jump forward. Winchester's like, I'm impressed with the pronunciation and selling it. Confidence. Yeah. I'm waiting for a Hebrew expert to come in and be like, I gotta call you on Zoom and school you. You know, I did change over about a week ago to, I'm doing, instead of Spanish on Duolingo, I'm doing Hebrew now. Somebody called me on it. I'm like, oh yeah, I should be doing that. So Jesus always agreed he would go through feeling this evil. Like that was always, he was like, I'm going to do it. Before the foundation of the earth, he knew he was going to go through this wide-eyed experience, right? He was going to experience it. Now the serpent is wanting Eve to have to do that. And what's the need? We can look back now and go, you didn't need to do that. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not really sure what my point was, but I wrote some notes the other day about that. So let's sum this sentence together. God knows that when you eat the fruit, you'll be wide-eyed and godlike, knowing good and evil. So let's put it all together. Achaya makes plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden, eat any fruit but the good or evil one. Serpent uses fancy words to try to pressure and convince the woman that the fruit won't kill, but will engodinate you, or engodinize. I was making up words there. Let me try again. Achaya made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly one. Serpent says it'll actually make you more capable in a good way. That was another attempt. I made another attempt. Achaya made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly one. Serpent says, no, it's good for you. Thumper Rose says, so there was no will of choice in the garden? If they did not know good versus evil, they were being, but not sentient being. I often wonder that. You know, maybe we can take a break sometime in the next, I don't know, number of months. Maybe read the Lost Book of Adam and Eve, or some Book of Enoch, or Book of Jasher, some of the other books that really flesh this out. I'm not convinced that those books hold the filtering weight of script of like Genesis, but a lot of their stuff is probably true, and we could really get some details out of that. Right, Thumper Rose says, it would give you the knowledge and choice of good versus evil. Crisco 13 says, blessings all been long day. I have to get some sleep. Have a wonderful night. Prayers up, Patriots. Crisco, for sure. We won't be going much longer, so I don't think. I have to go to work in the morning, which is a blessing. But Crisco 13, thanks for being here. Let me try this summary. Or no, not summary. Let me point this out. So there's still not yet a calamity. The system processor is starting to head towards the conclusion, but the covenant-breaking action of the man is going to be in the last word of the next sentence. So I say we're still in an unspoiled system. So verse 6. Shall we do it? I'm feeling up for it. Let's do it. I almost want to stop before the last word and just be like, and he will find out next week. But I won't do that. I was kind of afraid to go through this moment, but then it didn't bother me as much when I did it in this. Thumper Rose says, I have an early appointment, but here I am. I know, I'm the same. I'm addicted to Foxhole. Both lurking, listening, sometimes occasionally babbling into a microphone. It's a great place. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took some of its fruit and she ate. She also gave some to her husband with her, and he ate. Let me derail this whole thing. Have you ever thought that it might have been adrenochrome? That maybe their firstborn was almost ready? And the serpent said, hey, look at this. Because tree is a complex symbol in the Bible. It can mean man. It really can. You can deep dive into that. I was not planning on talking about that at all today. Not consciously. But given who all's here and the level of adrenochrome awareness that we all have, just saying, it's something to think about, right? It's terrible. It's terrible to think about. Once I thought I couldn't unthink it. I'm not saying it's for sure. Like, I really don't know. It could be. It doesn't. I think the metaphor of it is important. Like, they had a rule, they broke the rule. But there's something about processing that caloric information that broke their brains, I would argue. Anyway, let me pull off what Winchester 94 is so correct about, and it's just me scamming my way, pretending I can pronounce this stuff. This is a long one. Are you ready? Voter hayisha kitob hayetz lamachal vechi ta'ava hu la'ineim v'nechmad hayetz lahaskil vatikach mepirio vatochal vatitin gam laisha ima vayachal. Thumper Rose. We know there wasn't childbirth yet, but maybe they rushed it. It would have to be a preborn, right? Like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, there's a little weakness to that theory, but it's not completely out of the question. We know they can harvest adrenochrome from a late trimester. Yes, the pain of childbirth was part of leaving God's grace, but maybe there was some old technology. Right. Tree of life, newborn, good point. Winchester, you said it better than me. All right, so that first chunk of words we've already seen in prior weeks. So, Voter he hayisha kitob hayetz lamachal vechi. That's woman saw the tree was good for food and. Now we get to the word ta'ava. Zoom in a little bit. Ta'ava. Desirable. There's 21 Old Testament usage. It has a dash of both intense desire and a dash of greed. It's not for sure implied. Thumper Rose, not sure they were sexual beings. That's true, but they were commanded to be fruitful. And probably they were commanded before this, but yeah, it didn't say how quickly to get to it. So yeah, I agree. I've often thought that too. Because if we read some of those other apocryphal books I was talking about, they fall into the meat suits, and they may have been in the state that we'll be when we're not sexual beings also. So I kind of think you're onto something. Swear to God, that sounded like Pawnee or Sioux tribe. I am part Cherokee, like 150, 25. See, mom was 50. No, mom was 25. Granddad was 50. Granddad was 25. Mom was 12. I'm like 6% Cherokee. So maybe I accidentally can switch to some Native American speak. Right. When leaving, they knew nudity. Say that 3 times fast. They knew nudity. They knew nudity. Who is 2? La'ineim, that's vision. We've seen that last verse. Did we see that La'ineim in the last verse? My notes say we did. 5, 8, 6, 9. Oh yeah. That's that sort of wide-eyed vision info. Desirable. Yep. Vinechmad. We saw that in the 2nd chapter one time. It means pleasurable. Hayetz is tree. I started to wonder, Hayetz is tree and Haaretz is earth. Are the words so similar because the earth is a tree holder? Like the ground is made for trees? Trees we talked about a minute ago. Very deep. I'm leaving on a boat. A freaking boat. When I leave, I'm leaving on a boat. He's going to kick us out of the garden. You know what? See, how can I be? If he's going to say we can't be in the garden, I'm going to go get a boat. I don't know. I thought I was onto something. Lahaskil comes from sakal, to consider or be prudent. 63 Old Testament usages. It's a type of wisdom and understanding. Lahaskal. That's this one here. Green Dragon 64 says, not trying to sound pessimistic, but it's as if they were set up to fail. Otherwise, there would be no story told after that. I would agree. Like, let me pause for a second. As a teaching elder at a church, I hold an answer to that. Interesting. I wonder if they were in the incorruptible state like those that rise will be and forced to come to mortality. There's a scene in the Lost Book of Adam and Eve where they're like, no, don't make us go down there. Don't make us fall into that lower dimension and wear meat suits. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I think it's from the Book of Adam and Eve. I've only briefly glanced through it once or twice. But Yahweh Elohim is glorified through this calamity. You know, and here's the thing. What we're going to see in a minute is he immediately starts chasing them down. They're like, they don't want anything to do with him. And he's just like, nope, we're still going to have a relationship. It's still going to keep going. So I sometimes wonder, I mean, as a kid, you hear this and you're like, wait, you mean, you know, you're 8, you lose a relative, you get that first sense of existentialism or whatever, your crisis. And you're like, wait, that's going to happen to me and all my loved ones. And then you're like, wait, there was a way that would never have to happen. So, of course, it's a huge calamity. Thumper Rose says, I'd have to say, if I'm resurrected into an uncorruptible state, I do not want to come back to mortality. So I have a brother who, when he was just under 1 year old, was in and out of alive for 4 hours, getting coded, you know, in the hospital, undergoing surgery, undergoing being, you know, defibrillating, dead, all states, and just getting rejuvenated for 4 hours. He would get stable, then he would go out again, had a heart issue. He's like, no, I didn't want to go back. Did not want to go back. He was given the choice. And he struggles to explain why he would choose it. And it was basically because he wanted to do a favor for his mom, essentially, if I was to paraphrase. He struggles to say it because I don't think they ever had the greatest relationship. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that because it's his story. But he was there. He was in the incorruptible state, and he came back to mortality. I mean, to hear him talk about it. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, Thumper Rose. This is a long verse. I might say that after this verse, we'll pause. I don't know. It's been a 90-minute show so far. By the way, I got poison ivy a little bit. That's why I'm scratching. The next phrase, Vatikach mipirio vatochal vatitin, or vatitin. We've seen those words before, so I'll just run through them real quick. He yoinked the fruit, or she yoinked the fruit and ate and bestowed. Like, here you go. Gam means also or moreover or yeah. There's 768 Old Testament usages. Laisha, that's man. Ima, that's from im, or ayim, which means with. It's got 1,043 Old Testament usages. And it means near or preceding or among. And then we get to, here's where, okay, this is where it for sure goes bad. Vayachal, he ate. But that's like, you know, him, he just went. Thumper Rose says, yeah, but we wait in the grave for a bit, they say. Yeah, no, so so who knows where, like, he saw the vision that everybody sees going through the tunnel, meeting the great being or beings. He said he was talking to a wonderful person. Could have been like an archangel or something, who knows. Yeah, I don't know that he went further than everybody else goes when they're in the near death. So let me summarize this first. Sorry. The woman saw the tree was good for food and desirable to seeing, and a wantable tree for enwisening. So she yoinked, ate, and foisted it on the man, who chomped. Because there's a strong sense in that word, like presented to him. It's like kind of shoved it at him a little bit. It's his fault, I'm just saying. So let's summarize it. Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly one. Serpent says, no, it's good for you. The woman tried it and gave it to the husband, who also did. Now let me shrink it a little more. Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly one, which they tried anyway because the serpent said, nuh-uh. So we see a lot of her motivation, but Adam's motivation is just not in there. He's like, meh, whatever. It's really weird, right? Like, it's all his fault. He seems to be nearby because she can just turn and go, here you go. Or did she take it and run it over to him? That's been debated a little. I don't know. I have like 4 trials at summarizing this. Let me read them if you will permit me. Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly one, which they did anyway after the serpent said it's good. All right, then I tried 3 more times. This is chapter 1, 2, and part of 3. Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat any fruit but the deadly forbidden one recommended by the serpent. They ate it. I don't know what I was struggling with. I just tried a bunch. 2 more tries. Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who can eat all but the deadly forbidden serpent-promoted fruit, which they did eat. I think I finally got it. I was just trying to compact it. Ahia made... Thumper Rose says, haha, Adam was the basic model. Yeah. Kind of cavemanish, right? Ahia made plants, snow globe lights, an angel army, animals ruled by humans from Eden who ate the one deadly forbidden serpent-promoted fruit. And that's our story so far. I am kind of tempted to fade out here and pick up on verse 7 next week. I've prepared already 7 through 12, so I've got those ready to go next week, and I'll try to have more. Is that okay? We're at 1 hour and 37 minutes. I will make a run around the lurkers. Let me just check in to see all the other chats. Foxhole is the most active. The other ones are inactive, but every now and then you'll get stuff from them. If you're me, if you're in this. All right. So I'm going to scratch an eyes. Let me release that. The scratching has been released. Thumper Rose says, yep, I'll need to go. I'll try to catch next week. Interesting. Thanks for saying, Thumper Rose. Now I'm going to turn on my completely stolen from other shows, this technique of fading the outro music in, which presses me into hanging up the phone. Day after tomorrow, well, really Friday, I should say, Angular will be here. We'll be co-hosting the weekly news roundup. And then Sunday, I'll do Funkalosophy at 11:30 Central. All of this will be spoken about in the 2.5-minute video that I play at the end. I'm going to go check out probably some Severe. I say Severe. Maybe that's where we'll hang. All right. You've all been great. Thank you much. And I'm going to crank out the outro. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include the Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.